How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to do a bit of an easier chilled mission on Imandra. It's called Engine Troubles, and it's kind of in two stages. The first one, you got to go and grab this Yar 87. It's pretty close to the garage, really. It's only just like, you got to do a bit of off-roading, a bit of freestyling, but yeah, it's pretty near. And then like the second stage of the mission, again pretty easy. You just got to kind of go up the road, go to that warehouse, grab a vehicle spare part, and then bring it back to the garage again. So nothing too crazy, which is good because I've had a bit of a headache all night, so I didn't want to go motoring around for hours. But yeah, this was a nice chilled mission really. I'm gonna go and take the R87, to grab a R87. Yeah, I don't really use this thing a whole lot. I have got one somewhere on the Imandra that I found earlier that is stood up in the middle of nowhere on its nose. So yeah, I went and bought another one. That's a good thing with all this spare cash at the minute. And yeah, the first bit, I mean, right now I was like, oh god, I was very close to just going return to garage and grabbing something else, but I was thinking the Tatrin would probably be pretty good up here, but the Tatrin isn't going to be that much faster anyway. And at this bit, like near the bottom of the road, this is obviously where, I mean, I think most of us are in agreement that they just need to tone down the super snow in this game a little bit. Yeah, kind of like as I was going off the road, it was complete super snow. As I get a little bit further up the mountain, probably especially when I start climbing over these rocks, you'll see the snow just goes back to kind of normal snow, how it seems to be in the majority of like Northport and stuff like that. So yeah, I wish they'd tone it down, but we'll see. I hear the next map in the phase 2 is obviously on Canada, and apparently yeah, it's going to be some snow, some mud, so we'll see. Hopefully, yeah, the whole super snow situation, I hope they sort of tone it down a little bit, because I've definitely had my fill of snow for now. Could do with more like another muddy map. Then again, like Rift is a good map, but there's just no garage on it, so yeah, like I say, if you want to just go there with a load of vehicles and have a bit of fun, it's so long just getting all the vehicles there, and then they're all kind of like half run out of fuel and half run out of roof racks and that, because you just take random damage along the road. So yeah, sadly I don't really use Rift a whole lot. One reason I did want to bring this Yar up here is because I knew there'd be a shitload of rocks going up here, and I remember the Yar's pretty decent for climbing over rocks, all things considered. It's still a little bit on the slippy side, but most trucks tend to be, just for whatever reason. I mean, at least in this map it is kind of snowy, icy rocks, so get a little bit of a free pass. Got a little bit keen there. Thankfully, the Yar's actually doing pretty well at returning back to its wheels, because this thing can be a bit of a pain in the arse for any of you that have ever rolled this. It's yeah, trying to get it back to its wheels is a bit of a nightmare. But when I found that Yar 87, you can see the middle axle's kind of been shoved up. When I go near it, it'll calm down. But it's funny, I was just looking at it now. I kind of imagine it more easy as just a four-wheeled truck. It'd be pretty cool, but yeah, when I went close, it kind of punched the middle axle back down. Again, if I had a quid for every time I forgot to take it out of reverse. In real life, it would have killed me, and probably a lot of other people by now, with that kind of thing. And again, it's going close. I even brought the, what do you call it in these, the SnowRunner gearbox in this Yar, instead of just leaving the freeway one in, because I knew I'd be basically climbing up here and back down to the garage. And sadly, it's not quite. Again, it's more of an issue of like weight in this game. If you can increase the weight on some trucks, they kind of benefit from the grip. You'll see in the second part of this mission, I'm going to take the P16, and part of the reason I really like the P16 anyway, but yeah, it just feels like one of the most realistic trucks in the game as far as like how its weight interacts and all the rest of it. Whereas a lot of stuff like this, you'd imagine the way this thing acts, it weighs like a few hundred kilograms or something, which yeah. I mean, I bet this thing is pretty light, because you can kind of tell in real life it's made to be light. I assume most, if not all, the body is fiberglass and everything. It's got a pretty small engine, pretty narrow nose on it, so yeah, it's definitely designed for more like, you know, going along the ice and all stuff like that. But it's just as far as this game goes, need a bit more of those weight characteristics. And then this, supposedly, is a road. I mean, yeah, I'll use that in like quotation marks. Going back down to the garage. Those trees, I remember before I was able to drive through one of them trees, but yeah, it got me this time. It was not having any of it. Like I said though, all things considered, the Yar's doing pretty well up to now. I believe as well that yard behind me is actually driving itself, so it's not just like a dead weight at the minute. Which is fortunate, because I didn't bring a roof rack. I didn't think there was any point really, as I was so close. I was like, but yeah, worst case, something goes wrong, I'll just recover to garage and, or yeah, send something up the hill. Probably a goddamn horse of a vehicle or something. But yeah, we're out of the worst of it now. Like that little section where the trees were poking up through the rocks, that's probably the most iffy bit, and yeah, went pretty smoothly, all things considered. It'd be pretty cool if you were allowed to keep this yar at the end of it, but it takes it off you. It's a bit of a shame. Not that I particularly need 3 yars anymore, but still, thought it would be nice. So I do quite like the yar in a lot of situations, but it just doesn't feel realistic on the snow. Like, out of most trucks in the game, this should be the one that goes absolutely flying across the snow. I appreciate at the minute I'm towing a yard, so it kind of does the whole thing where it only lets you go a certain speed anyway, but you know what I mean. Most of you would have drove the yard on snow, and yeah, it's just a little bit like, meh. Well, that has got a little baby engine in it, I suppose, so it's not like some big fat V8 thing in it, which is a shame. That's what I'd put in if I had the chance. Yeah, as soon as you get to this box at the garage, it just takes it off you, and that's it. So yeah, that's stage one completed. Scared the shit out of that fence. I cut it out, but I wanted to scare the shit out of that barrel as well, because I felt like it. Yeah, next up, we're going to take the P16. Well, we're actually going to take the loaf, but of course, you got to put the right shoes on the loaf. So you've got P12. Pop him on. That's one other thing I do like about the P16 though. It's pretty goddamn good at holding a loaf. And that horn. It's like, how the hell are they the same company of truck? Let's see. That's a goddamn horn. Yeah, you're about to see though, when I'm driving the P16, it just like feels a lot better. I didn't attach the winch to the loaf. I'll explain why in a minute. Essentially, long story short, when you attach a winch to the loaf, when you're doing this, because the game doesn't have like a pull/winch mode or whatever, the loaf's just constantly like jumping around as if it's trying to drive over the top of the P16. If you just leave it without a winch, it kind of, the back of it sits on that high saddle, or saddle high, whatever the bloody hell they call it in this game, and yeah, like your front wheels just stay hooked over that rail along the top, and it hangs on pretty well, all things considered. If you tip pretty far left or right, it's not going to go too well, but yeah, better than most. But you see, going through here like this mud, this just to me appears to be like pretty real, I'd say, for the situation. I don't think you'd be going much faster than this. I'm sure in real life you could attempt it, but yeah, it's a pretty reasonable speed. But it's just the way it like interacts through the mud, and like how planted it feels and all the rest of it. It's yeah, I just like it. I wish they'd kind of add a bit more, yeah, weightiness to some of the other trucks. And even like smashing them rocks out of the way. I apologise, there's a tiny little glitch there, but it motors over the rocks pretty well. I only sort of stopped dead there because just as I hit the rocks, I kind of changed to go to high-low anyway, so a little break. There's a quick edit here. I was just going to move the nose of the loaf over, but that post to my left, you can't even winch to it. But you can see though, even though the loaf's tipped over pretty far to the right, it's still like, because its wheels sort of hook over that rail, and each side of the rail kind of dips down to the middle. I'm guessing in real life this P16 probably has some kind of crane, because that's what those rails on the roof kind of look like. They're both sloped down to the middle with a little gap in the middle where I'm guessing maybe a crane arm would rest. See? Goddamn horse with a vehicle. I mean, I didn't have far to go, and yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't necessarily need to bring a loaf, but what can I say? It's not like I get to drive the loaf that often. Yeah, this is now, you'll see, when I go to put the winch on, as soon as I do it and start driving forward, yeah, the loaf just starts like jumping around, and it's just not as stable in the long run. I even did the winch to the back to try and kind of ram it into the saddle high, but yeah, you can see it's just jiggling around. It's like, nah, sod it. Next up, this tree. I even chose this bumper specifically because out of all of them, it looked like it had the highest kind of ramp angle on it. First attempt, no luck. Go for a bit of a run up. Bit of moral support from the loaf. Attempt number 2. yeah, I kind of got a nice little bounce there. I was just kind of rising back up on the front suspension as I went over, and yeah, cleared it pretty well. I knew the rear wouldn't really be an issue going over that tree, just because the size of the tyres on this thing. It's little situations like that, and now, where overall I don't think the P16 needs all-wheel drive. Like, it's already a decent truck as it is, but there's no denying that in these kind of situations, just the way the game works and all the rest of it, if you had power going to the front wheels, even if it wasn't a hell of a lot, it would still, yeah, assist in just some things like bumping over those rocks. Again, when I was clipping that tree, just a little bit of engine power probably would have helped the situation. Loaf. He's gone. Weight reduction. See, like there, just the wheels biting up and over it'd be pretty handy. Of course, though, the Loafer's just chilling for a minute. He's coming with us. I will be pressing that horn intermittently throughout the game. Every time I'm in this thing. Like I said, it's like therapy. So yeah, we're going to go and grab the vehicle spare parts, so I'm going to need a trailer. So there's little things like this with this map as well. You can kind of loop around the back of the yard, theoretically, but they put a load of tree stumps in the way. It's just little things like that, like, god damn it, I wish I had something that I could rip them out. Pretty happy with the reversing attempt. Didn't want to hit my loaf, of course, but yeah, these trailers, usually I can't reverse to save my life. I mean, all I wanted to do was winch the loaf. And what does it do? Winch to every goddamn thing other than. This game does need to learn the concept of winch priorities. Like, when there's a truck behind me that I'm staring at, and I'm trying to attach the winch, and then it goes and sticks to every goddamn tree, rock, bush, or thing that's available. Everything except the vehicle you want. Anyway, I just cut a little bit ahead. You'll see why in a sec, because I'm about to go back. What I was trying to do was stick a winch from the middle of my truck to that lamppost and kind of swing myself around. Just, yeah, messing around really. I was just seeing if I could kind of increase my turning angle. And of course, the trailer grabs the post, flicks my cargo out of there. I kind of probably deserve that one, but sod it. It was worth a go. So we'll go back in. Attempt number 2. That's what she said. Yeah, I don't know what it is like. I mean, I'm looking forward again to the phase 2 with this big dump truck that's coming. The forklift I'm not so concerned about. It'll still be good for a laugh, little thing to mess around with. But yeah, generally speaking, I mean, just driving this P16 just feels good motoring around in it. Because it's a big old beast. So yeah, I do quite like. I hope they keep adding more monstrous trucks. So got a bit used to that. Grab the cargo and we're off. Hopefully a bit of a better attempt this time, because I took about the shittest line that was possible last time. So I was trying to go nice and wide. Of course, I couldn't resist. Yes. I'll take that. It's a win. It's a win in my book. So on the home straight. Of course, goddamn horse of a vehicle is up ahead. He's waiting for me. Again, I didn't really need to bring it, but you'll see in a minute. I do blow a tyre, so it's possible. It's worth bringing a reef rack with me. And again, just because the gate, I was even watching now, like, right, I'll try and winch it as close as I can. Of course, nearly lost my cargo again. I know I'm kind of taking the piss a bit, but I was enjoying myself. At this point, I didn't particularly need to bring the loaf. It was just a matter of principle. The game keeps offering me everything but. And now, you see, again, little situations like this where a little bit more power to the front would be nice, but overall, stick the winch to the middle, stick it to the telegraph pole, and we're good to go. I think at the minute, yeah, it's that massive rock like under the middle of my chassis that's not really helping. It's kind of like the transfer case, and everything is caught on it. Someone said in the comments the other day, I've not heard a Dave story for a while, and it was it was making me think. I was thinking of one the other day that crossed my mind with Dave. A while ago, I wasn't actually there for this one, but I remember my other brother Adam rang me and told me about it. They basically had a racing quad. You can already tell where that's going. And yeah, it was on their dad's farm. And yeah, when Ad rang me, he said, "Oh, we've been messing around with a racing quad today." And I think the first thing I said to him was like, "Oh God, who took Dave to the hospital?" And he said he did. Yeah, they were messing around on this racing quad. Apparently, it was pretty rapid as well. I don't know quads that well. I wish they'd add something like that into this game. But yeah, I think the main thing with a racing quad's probably got less knobbly tyres and yeah, pretty rapid as far as the acceleration and everything goes. yeah, they were each taking turns, messing around, whatever. Dave gets on it and probably said something along the lines of "watch this," followed by goes flying off down the road. I think at some point it did a wheelie, flinged left or right. At that point he's probably doing like a whiskey throttle because he's hanging on for dear life. And they ended up like, I think the racing quad and him both started kind of cartwheeling down the road, flew over this little fence thing, and then they went over and had a look. And I think overall, I'm sure he sprained his ankle or something. Like, but all things considered, like you hear people like Ozzy Osbourne and that breaking their neck near enough on him. Like, he got off pretty lightly. Got over that tree pretty well, but then I hit that, chassis carcass sat in the middle of nowhere. Anyway, the thing that made me laugh though when he when he crashed the quad was Ad was saying he flew over a barbed wire fence, and his shoe was missing, and this barbed wire fence had a piece of sock hanging off it that it obviously ripped it off his foot. But he said the funny thing was like this sock was completely clean cut, like it had no frays or anything in it. It looked like someone had done it with scissors. You imagine like the Tom and Jerry cartoons or something, where they like hit someone's shoe with an axe and then their toes all come popping out the socks afterwards. It was like just a perfectly clean cut on the barbed wire, which also shows you though that he's a lucky bastard, because another millimetre or two left, right, whatever, instead of ripping his sock off, the barbed wire would have tried peeling his foot off. And the other thing that made me laugh though is after Adam took him to the hospital. I mean, this is kind of like, Ad could have stayed there with him at the hospital, but then at the same time, the amount of time Dave needs to go hospital, it's less surprising when you're taking Dave to the hospital over most people. So you're less committed. It's less serious. So anyway, Adam got him to the hospital, found him a wheelchair, and Adam just left him. But what Dave was saying was it was one of those wheelchairs with like tiny little wheels on the back, so he couldn't roll himself down the hallway. So as he was trying to get to reception, he was using like the palms of his hand to stick to the wall and scrape himself along the wall. And he said all these nurses and everything were just walking past him and ignoring him. But like I say, they're probably like, oh, not this fucker again. Like back here every week. But yeah, I just thought just the image of Dave in a wheelchair with little wheels trying to scrape himself down the wall to reception to say like he's broke something again. So yeah, sounds pretty typical Dave story. Again, I think he was alright in the end. He's a lucky sod. I mean, he does break things every now and then, but he hit a tree on a motorbike going like 80 once, and I think he broke his ankle or something on that, but yeah, all things considered. Like, my dad crashed his bike at 180 and exploded. And it's just abandoned the autopsy, just put it down as blunt force trauma. So yeah, hitting a tree at 80 and getting a broken ankle, all things considered, I'd take that. So anyway, we're back at the yard. Like I said, I did burst my tyre on that truck chassis carcass thing in the middle of nowhere, so of course the professional would have been handy to have with me. As I was flying in here, quickly just rammed the P12, make sure it knows who's boss, show it what a real horn sounds like, and then yeah, I was about to drop the cargo off, realised I need to assert dominance with the R87, but we're all good, it listened. And like I said, that's about it for the mission. 2 stages, pretty simple. And yeah, that's about it for today. I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching, get yourself a loaf, and I'll be back soon.